defense budget of over $700 billion, China boasts of its fleet of dangerous weapons. These armaments have not failed to strike fear in the hearts of nations, including its rival, the United States and Russia. It is certain that this developed country would stop at nothing to possess lethal weaponry with capabilities that nothing can compete with. As the tension thickens between China and the United States, this country has put steps in place to claim the position of the country with the most advanced technology. What does China have in its store? Does this new bomber possess unrivaled features? Join us as we check out the capabilities of the bomber that the Chinese are secretly testing. The lethality of a strategic bomber and how it harnesses the potential to change the outcome of any war that it is introduced into is no news, and this is why developed countries have invested in the development of this weapon. The fact that not every country can afford one even makes it more reverent. The two countries that have succeeded in developing these strategic weapons are none other than the countries leading in the development of advanced weaponry, the United States and Russia. Now China has also joined them with the creation of its own stealth strategic bomber, as their weapon companies are already in the process of developing one. Now the question is, which of these countries has the best strategic bomber in the world? Is it the Russians' Tu-160M missile bomber or the United States B-50H? Is it possible for China's new bomber to perform better than these countries' bombers combined? Let's check out their individual capacity. The United States B-52H, which was designed by the weapon company Boeing, is a long-range, subsonic strategic bomber which has been in operation by the U.S. Air Force since the 1950s and with NASA for over 20 years. This bomber's capability would make it remain the main long-range bomber aircraft of the U.S. Air Force until at least 2040. With a speed of up to 590 miles per hour, it can carry up to 20 AGM-86B ALCM cruise missiles with a maximum launch range of 1,491 miles. There is also a high-precision non-nuclear modification of this missile with a launch range of up to 745 miles. Even though the AGM-86B ALCM is not as powerful as the Russian X-55CM and X-102, it is capable of striking with a high precision before the bomber is detected and destroyed by enemy air defense or fighter aircraft. The B-52 bomber has similar technology to the earlier formidable B-47 Stratojet. They both had swept wings, potted jet engines, and crew ejection systems. In the B-52D, pilots and ECM operators ejected upwards, and lower deck crew ejected downwards. The tail gunner's position changed from the traditional tail location to the front, using radar for gun laying like the B-58 Hustler. This U.S. strategic bomber has 8 engines that are arranged in pairs under its wings. The pylons holding the engines also serve as wing fences to delay stall. The first prototypes used experimental Pratt & Whitney YJ57P3 engines. B-52A models had Pratt & Whitney J57P1W turbojets with 10,000 pounds force thrust, extendable to 11,000 pounds force with water injection stored in a 360-gallon tank in the rear fuselage. The development cost of this strategic bomber is over $100 million, and to purchase one of these aircraft would cost $84 million per aircraft. Another United States bomber that is renowned for being unrivaled in terms of capability is the B-1B Lancer that looks a lot like the Russians' Tu-150. It was adopted by the United States Air Force in 1985. This bomber, also known as the Rockwell B-1 Lancer or Bone, is a fast, heavy bomber with adjustable wings used by the United States Air Force. It is one of 3 big bombers in the U.S. Air Force, along with the B-2 Spirit and B-52 Stratofortress that was mentioned earlier. As of 2024, it is known to have the capacity to carry the heaviest load of any U.S. Air Force bomber, 75,000 pounds. It has a unique wing design that can change shape, 4 powerful engines, triangular ride control fins, and a cruciform tail. The wings can adjust from a narrow to a wide position. Narrow wings are used for takeoff, landings, and efficient cruising at high altitudes. Wide wings are used for faster flights. The B-1's flexible wings and strong engines make it take off well on short runways. To handle turbulence at low altitudes, small control fins near the nose and a system called structural mode control are used to keep the flight smooth. Despite its range of 7,456 miles and the possibility of air refueling, the B-1B is no longer a strategic bomber. This is because the equipment necessary for the use of nuclear weapons was removed from the aircraft. In addition, the AGM-69 SRAM aero-ballistic missiles with a nuclear warhead carried by the bomber were decommissioned. Now, B-1B Lancer is only used to carry conventional weapons and is actively used in local conflicts. This bomber's main computer is the IBM AP-101, which is also used on the Space Shuttle and B-52 bomber. It is programmed with the Jovial language. Its avionics includes a radar set with various modes, navigation systems, and an inertial navigation suite. Its defense systems includes radar warning and jamming equipment, the AN/ALQ-161A, which possesses antennas at the wing bases and the tail. The missile approach warning system, the AN/ALQ-153, can be found in the tail. The AN/ALQ-153 is connected to 8 flare dispensers on top behind the canonic and is managed by the AN/ASQ-184 system. Each of these dispensers can hold up to 12 MJU-23 AB flares, and they are among the world's largest infrared countermeasures, flares. The bomber can carry the ALE-50 toy decoy system for additional protection. Interestingly, the B-1 is not officially identified as a stealth bomber, but it is designed to have a low radar cross-section, which makes it very hard for enemies' radar to detect and target. Its radar cross-section is about 1/50th of a similar-sized B-50, and this makes it roughly 26 square feet or 2.4 square mats, which is similar to that of a small fighter jet. This bomber has achieved 61 world records that is recognized by the FAI for various achievements, like speed, payload, distance, and time to climb in different weight classes. In November 1993, 3 B-1Bs set a long-distance record by showing its capability to carry out extended missions worldwide without stopping. The nation's Aeronautics Association acknowledged the bomber for completing one of the 10 most memorable record flights in 1994. The Northrop Grumman B-2 is another American bomber that is built for strategic purposes. Also known as the stealth bomber, this weapon makes use of advanced stealth technology to avoid being detected by enemy radar and also has the ability to fly at subsonic speeds. It is the most invisible and most expensive bomber in the world. The bomber can carry both regular and nuclear weapons, like the 8,500-pound GPS guided bombs or 16 2,400-pound nuclear bombs. The B-2 is the only aircraft that can carry large air-to-surface standoff weapons while staying in stealth mode. It can carry out attack missions while flying as high as 50,000 feet. It can also cover more than 6,000 nautical miles without refueling and can go over 10,000 nautical miles with one mid-air refueling. This bomber became operational in 1997 and was the second aircraft to use advanced stealth technology, following the Lockheed F-117 Nighthawk. Originally designed as a nuclear bomber, it saw its first combat in the Kosovo War in 1999. Where it dropped regular, non-nuclear bombs. After that, it was used in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya. The original design of the flying wing scheme, the covering of the fuselage made of radio-absorbing materials, as well as special-type engines that screen the jet exhaust contributes to the stealth features of the bomber. Each aircraft carries up to 27 tons of weapons, including bombs and nuclear missiles. First of all, the B-2 is designed to break through dense, deeply echeloned air defense. However, These aircraft have not already had a chance to meet with a worthy enemy. A total of 19 bombers of this type are listed in the U.S. Air Force today, although they were going to buy more than 100. The Pentagon currently has no plans to resume production of stealth weapons because even the Americans cannot afford the bombers anymore. In 1988, the cost of one bomber was estimated at $1 billion, and considering the cost of research and development work, each of these bombers costs the military department more than $2 billion. This is the most expensive aircraft in the history of world aviation. In the planned Cold War situation, it was designed for secret nuclear strike missions, using its stealth features to avoid detection and interception. It has 2 inside bomb bays where munitions are stored, reducing radar visibility compared to external mounting. The B-2 can carry up to 40,000 pounds of weapons, including nuclear bombs like the B-61 and B-83, and it was supposed to use the AGM-129 ACM cruise missile. The bomber has various regular weapons, including Mark 82 and Mark 84 bombs, CBU-87 combined effects, munitions, Gator mines, and the CBU-97 sensor-fused weapon. In July 2009, Northrop Grumman said the bomber could use the 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrator to attack bunkers. It can carry up to 2 MOPs, 1 in each bomb bay, and it's the only plane compatible with the MOP as of 2010. By 2011, the AGM-158 JSSM cruise missile was set to be added to the B-2's arsenal, followed by the long-range standoff weapon, potentially giving the B-2 a standoff nuclear capability. Let's take a look at the capabilities of Russia's strategic bombers and compare to see if it outshines the capacity or the United States weapon. Starting from the Tupolev Tu-22M, this bomber is also known as Backfire, is a fast, long-range bomber with wings that can change shape. It was created by the Tupolev Design Bureau in the 1960s. During the Cold War, the Soviet Air Forces and naval aviation used it for strategic bombing and long-range anti-shipping missions. They are considered the universal soldiers of long-range aviation in Russia. These bombers were designed to perform combat missions in land and naval theaters of military operations. They can destroy mobile and stationary single and area targets with missiles and bombs day and night in simple and difficult meteorological conditions. It boasts of a speed of up to 1,367 miles per hour and a range of 4,225 miles. This bomber has the capacity to carry 12 tons of bombs and missiles. Compared to the T-4, the Tu-22M has a simpler and cheaper design. The Soviet government was hesitant to approve a new aircraft shortly after the Tu-22 was introduced. To address issues with the bomber and to avoid any form of criticism, the Air Force and Tupolev presented the Tu-22M as an update in discussions with the government. The government approved the design in November 1967, and the aircraft, with the code name Aircraft 45, got the green light. The T-4, on the other hand, had its first flight in 1972 but was later canceled. Another strategic bomber that Russians boast of is the Tu-160. This bomber, which is also known and referred to as the White Swan or Blackjack, is a huge and fast bomber that was created in the 1970s by the Tupolev Design Bureau in the Soviet Union. It's the biggest and heaviest military plane capable of flying faster than Mach 2. It comes second only to the experimental XB-70 Valkyrie in size and speed. As of 2024, it holds the titles of the largest and heaviest combat aircraft, the fastest operational bomber, and the most massive variable sweep wing plane ever flown. One of these bombers can lift 45 tons of bombs and missiles into the air. Its maximum takeoff weight is 275 tons, which is also significantly higher than its competitors or any other bomber that has been developed. In addition, the Russian strategist has the most powerful engines among aircraft of its class, and it accelerates to 1,429 miles per hour. Starting in 1987, the Tu-160 became the last strategic bomber designed for the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union dissolved, Ukraine got 19 of these bombers, more than half of all existing ones. After negotiations, Russia bought 11 Ukrainian Tu-160s, while the rest were scrapped in the late 1990s. As of 2016, the Russian Aerospace Forces Long-Range Aviation Branch is the only operator, with 16 Tu-160s. The bomber saw its first combat in November 2015 during the Russian military intervention in the Syrian civil war, carrying out airstrikes with Catch-101 air-launched cruise missiles. It has also been deployed to distant places like Venezuela and South Africa. Since the early 2000s, the active fleet of this bomber had undergone several extensive upgrades, mainly focusing on different electronic systems. The modernization program started updating existing models, with the first one delivered in December 2014. Plans from 2015 included delivering 50 new bombers and upgrading 16 existing aircraft. The Sukhoi Su-34, a Russian multifunctional supersonic fighter bomber, was designed to strike enemy ground targets in operational and tactical depth with airborne weapons. In operational and tactical depth, in conditions of strong countermeasures by enemy air defenses and the use of modern electronic warfare equipment, hitting enemy air targets day and night in simple and difficult meteorological conditions. With a full weapons load, it can fly up to 4,000 kilometers and even farther with aerial refueling. The plane is approved for maneuvers with forces up to 9 grams, and it's much quieter than its predecessors, with noise levels half as much. It had a complicated and lengthy beginning. In the mid-1980s, Sukhoi started creating a new combat aircraft to replace the Su-24, but there were conflicting requirements. They chose the Su-27 because of its agility and range as the basis for the new fighter bomber. Specifically, it was developed from T-10KM2, the naval trainer version of the Sukhoi Su-27K. The project, internally named T-10V, was put on hold at the end of the 1980s due to political changes in the Soviet Union and its eventual breakup. In terms of its combat capabilities, this bomber belongs to the 4th++ generation and allows it to carry out basic combat missions without being accompanied by cover fighters due to its high combat qualities, which make it possible to conduct independently maneuverable air combat with any existing enemy fighters on equal terms. Based on the Sukhoi Su-27 flanker, the Su-34 has a reinforced cockpit with seats for 2 pilots side by side. It was mainly designed for tactical missions against ground and naval targets, like bombing, attack, and interception roles, including small and mobile targets. It operates in various conditions, day and night, good and bad weather, and hostile environments with counterfire and electronic warfare measures. The bomber is expected to replace the Su-24 tactical strike fighter and the Tu-22M long-distance bomber. The bomber is powered by 2 Saturn AL-31 FM1 turbofan engines, the same ones used in the Su-27SM. It can reach a maximum speed of Mach 1.8+, even when carrying a full load. Although it's not as fast as the regular Su-27, the Su-34 can handle high G-forces and perform aerobatic maneuvers. It was rumored that it was used in combat for the first time during the 2008 Russo-Georgian War. In July 2010, the aircraft flew across a distance of 6,000 kilometers without stopping, showcasing the Su-34 long-range ability. They carried full loads of weapons and practiced dropping them on targets. The Su-24M, which also flew beside the Su-34, were refueled 3 times, while the Su-34 were refueled twice. It eventually finished its state trials in September 2011 and officially started service in early 2014. Russia plans to have 124 of these fighter jets by 2020 and might increase that number to 200 later on. The new bomber that China is developing would have to compete with the sophisticated capabilities of these fighter jets and, if possible, outshine them to possess the best bomber ever created. In 2016, the Chinese Air Force general announced that they were working on a new long-range bomber. They announced that the development of this bomber was progressing well, and they later revealed the name to be H-20. This bomber is expected to be a flying wing with a range of over 8,500 kilometers and can carry at least 10 tons of weapons. This bomber poses a potential threat to the United States targets and military bases. Over the years, various models and computer images of the H-20 have appeared online, some from state-owned defense magazines. These show consistent features like serrated air intakes, cranked kite wings, and foldable twin-tail surfaces. Recently, in a new advertising film of the People's Liberation Army of China, an unknown aircraft was shown matching the shape of the promising strategic bomber Xi'an H-20. The video caused a storm of discussion and speculation. Given the veil of secrecy that traditionally surrounds all of China's military developments, such exposure of a bomber may mean that its aerodynamic design are no longer a secret, and its development has advanced significantly. According to data from open sources, the aircraft is built according to the flying wing scheme using low-visibility technologies, has a takeoff weight of about 200 tons, and can carry 45 tons of payload. As the main armament equipped in the H-20, 4 long-range strategic missiles were also developed using stealth technology. In July 2020, Chinese state media hinted the public that the H-20 would take its very first flight. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there!